I'd like to call the December 9th, 2021 meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission to order. The first item of business is to read the required announcement. Pursuant to Governor Baker's June 15th, 2021 lifting of the state of emergency and following the passing of Chapter 20 of the Acts of 2021, which allows for remote meetings of public bodies until April 1st of 2022. This meeting of the Town of Burlington's Conservation Commission is being conducted through remote participation. No in-person attendance of members of the public are permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings as provided for in this order. A reminder that persons who would like to listen to or view this meeting while in progress may do so by tuning into the BCAT Government Cable Access Channel, or the BCAT Government Meetings Facebook Live feed, or you can join the meeting over the phone at 408-418-9388. The number is being shared with you at the screen. There's also a meeting number 179-747-7321. To join the Webex live video conference, click on the link on the Conservation Commission's meeting page or the Town of Burlington Town calendar and go to the Conservation Commission on the calendar and go to the agenda. Go to the webex.com, join a meeting, and then the meeting number and the access code is the same as before, and there's also a password there on the meeting notice. New public hearings open tonight will not be closed, so to allow for comments from those who are unable to access or uncomfortable with the technology. Comments and concerns regarding public hearings should be emailed to conservation@burlington.org before the next meeting on January 13th, 2022. Okay, so we'll go through a roll call now. Please signify by saying aye or present when I call your name. Commissioner Don Bernstein. Okay, I understand
He will be late.
He will be late. Commissioner Gail Lima.
Here.
Commissioner Indra Deb.
Here.
Commissioner Bill Boyven.
Here.
Commissioner Jennifer O'Riordan is absent. Commissioner Ed Loturco. We'll mark him absent for now. Associate Commissioner Kent Moffett.
Here.
Okay. Administrator John Keeley.
Here.
And our Assistant Administrator Eileen Coleman.
Here.
All right, thank you for that. All right, so let's review the agenda for a few minutes. We have on the agenda, we have item number 8, which is a continued public hearing. This will be continued. This is for 130 Lexington Street, which is the Islamic Center of Burlington, to remove fill and restore a buffer zone. That's continued to our next meeting of January 13th, 2022. Could I have a motion from the commission to continue 130 Lexington Street to January 13th, 2022?
So moved, Gail.
Second.
Second, Phil.
Gail, how do you vote?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, so by a vote of 4-0-0, the continued public hearing for 130 Lexington Street is continued until January 13th, 2022. I also understand we have received a notice to continue number 4 Redmond Street from Somerset Realty Trust, continued public hearing. And continued public hearing is being continued 5 Redmond Street for the same applicant. And also the Redmond Street roadway by the same applicant. The request is to continue until January 13th. Do I have a motion to continue all 3 of these applications?
So moved, Gail.
Second.
Second, Phil.
And the motion states that it's to January 13th. Gail, how do you vote?
I have it just
Oh, Indra has a question.
Yeah.
quick. Is this item number 10, 11, and 12?
Yes, item 10, 11, and 12, correct.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, Gail, how do you vote?
Yes,
Indra,
Yes,
Bill?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes. So the Redmond Street roadway, number 4 Redmond Street and number 5 Red Street, 3 continued public hearings are continued until the January 13th, 2022 meeting. Okay. I should point out that the meeting is being recorded and all votes, as you can tell, will be by roll call. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is citizens' time. Is there somebody in the virtual audience who is not on the agenda or who has an item not on the agenda? Something that you would like to bring up? All right, the record should show no one volunteered for anything at citizens' time. The next item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. We have the minutes of October 28th. Are there any discussion or changes needed?
Nope.
All right, could I have a motion to approve the minutes of October 28th, 2021?
so moved, Gail.
Second?
second, Indra.
All right, Gail, how do you vote?
Yes,
Indra?
Yes,
Bill?
Yes.
Chair votes yes by a vote of 400. The minutes of October 28th, 2021 are approved. Are we in a position to approve November 15th? Looks
yeah,
like,
I send Eileen some minor correction, but otherwise, yes.
all right. Could I have a motion to approve the minutes of November 15th, 2021?
So moved, Bill.
Second?
Yes, second, Gail.
Gail? How do you vote, Gail?
Yes, yeah.
Indra?
yes,
Bill?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, so by a vote of 400, the minutes of November 15th, 2021 are approved. We're now on item 4. Item 4 is a request for extension to order of conditions for 2 McSweeney Way, Somerset Trust, DEP file number 122-550. Someone here for that project?
Yes, I am. Phyllis Etzel, and I'm here representing Somerset Realty Trust, Robert W. Murray, with a request for an extension to our order of conditions for 2 McSweeney Way. The reason for this request is that we have not yet received our building permit. We have applied, and actually we've applied twice. And we've had now have a new building inspector. If we do not receive the building permit soon, very soon, we intend to apply for a variance for reduced frontage. It appears likely that that is what will happen. And after that, we'll go to the planning board, and we expect to hopefully receive the approvals and be able to build the home on 2 McSweeney Way.
One question, Phyllis. Do you have to go to the zoning board of appeals as well to get the variance?
Yes,
Oh, okay.
we would do that first.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, John or Eileen, are there any violations or outstanding issues on this particular property?
So there are no issues. The permit was originally issued in December of 2015. It was extended in 2018. At that time, they actually did clear the lot. They installed erosion controls, cleared the lot. But it's kind of grown back in since then, and there's basically no issues.
All right, so I gather that means there's no reason you're telling the commission why it cannot be extended.
Correct.
All right, and Phyllis, are you asking for 3 years?
Yes, we are, please.
All right. All right, how about the commission? Do you have any thoughts or comments on this one? The silence is the answer. Okay. All right, so could I have a motion from the commission to extend the order of conditions for 2 McSweeney Way for Somerset Realty Trust for DEP file number 122-550 for 3 years.
So moved. Indra.
Second,
Second, Bill.
Gail, how do you vote?
Yes,
Kendra,
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, so by a vote of 4-0-0. The 2 McSweeney Way project, the permit is extended for 3 more years. You're all set, Phyllis, on this one.
Well, thank you very much, and I hope you have a good evening.
Thank you very
You
much.
too.
You too. Have a nice
Night.
evening. Okay, so next, we have a request for a certificate of compliance for a determination of applicability for 6 Barber Circle from the Barbara A. Stanton 1993 Revocable Trust. Okay, so Eileen or John, do you have some comments on this one?
Sure, I'll take this one. So there was a determination of applicability issued in 1994 for the installation of a carport on this lot. At the time, the Conservation Commission was requiring determination of applicability decisions to be recorded at the Registry of Deeds. Since then, that's been discontinued. There really isn't a clear process for the release, so we've sort of made up our own certificate of compliance form. But the property is being sold and it's an encumbrance on the deed that they need to clear. Eileen did go check it. There's no issues. I would imagine at this point, the carport's probably going to be torn down when the property's sold anyway, but it looked fine.
Okay, and here we have a picture being shared by Eileen. Okay. Well, the carport is still standing, so any comments from the commission and Kent or anyone else on the commission on this one? All right, then, could I have a motion to issue the certificate of compliance for a determination of applicability for the property at 6 Barber Circle, requested from the Barbara A. Stanton 1993 Revocable Trust?
Gail.
Second,
Second, Bill.
all right. Okay, Gail, how do you vote?
Yes,
Indra,
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, so by a vote of 4-0-0, their certificate of compliance for the determination of applicability for 6 Barber Circle is granted. All right, so that's item 5. Okay. So we have this. Okay, now we're on item 6A. Okay. Notice is hereby given that the Town of Burlington Conservation Commission will hold a Webex virtual public meeting, during which time we will act upon an application for a Burlington Wetlands Bylaw permit filed by NStar Electric Company doing business as Eversource Energy. The commission will take all information related to the proposed expansion of an electric substation within the buffer to locally regulated, isolated vegetated wetlands at 64A Middlesex Turnpike. The commission will thereafter issue a determination. The application is being heard pursuant to Burlington Bylaw Article 14, and a copy of the application is available by emailing conservation@burlington.org. Is there a representative of the proponent here?
Yes, there is. Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, members of the Commission. My name is Pete Fusco, and I'm an environmental specialist with Eversource. I'm also here as the applicant for the RDA you just mentioned at 64A Middlesex Turnpike for the project known as the Station 391 Mobile Transformer Installation Project. I want to take a quick moment to introduce the team we have here tonight. Project Manager, we have Jeff Cicerone. From Project Services, we have Miles Lang Kennedy. Community Relations, we have Anne-Marie Walsh. From Ty and Bond, our professional engineer, Tim Grace. As well, from Ty and Bond is Jessica Roberts, who is our professional wetland scientist. And I'd like to turn it over to her so she can present this project to you. Can't hear you, Jessica. Can't hear you.
Jessica, you're muted.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Time Bond filed a request for determination of applicability on behalf of Eversource for, as Pete mentioned, the proposed installation of a mobile transformer installation project, which is part of a proposed expansion of an existing substation 64A Middlesex Turnpike. The RDA is filed because there is an existing isolated vegetated wetland within the 2.2 acre parcel. We delineated that wetland in October 2021, and it is jurisdictional under your bylaw. The RDA is being filed because a portion of the proposed work within the subject parcel is within the 100-foot buffer zone of the isolated vegetated wetland. However, there is no work within the 20-foot no disturb zone, and there is no work proposed within state jurisdictional wetlands. In terms of our request, we're requesting the commission consider issuing a negative determination, confirming that the proposed work will occur within the 100-foot buffer zone of a locally regulated wetland, but will not alter an area subject to protection under your bylaw or regulations. So in the, Eileen, thank you for sharing screen. In the middle of the plan sheet there, you can see the isolated vegetated wetland and the 20-foot no disturb zone. And we have an approximately 26,000 square foot limit of work that is demarcated with hatched lines throughout the substation parcel. Approximately 16,000 square feet of work is proposed within the 100-foot buffer zone. We've been careful to limit disturbance as much as possible. So about 2,200 square feet of vegetation removal and grubbing is proposed, a portion of which is in the rear of the substation in the proposed expansion area, which is about 6,500 square feet. And also in the southeastern portion of the parcel, in the plan left corner, bottom left corner, is a proposed bioretention basin. So there's a little bit of grubbing that will occur in that portion of the site. There are 6 or 7 main components to this project. I sound a little repetitive, but the main portion is the expansion of the substation, about a 6,500 square foot area in the rear of the substation. And in that area will be the proposed installation of the mobile transformer and circuit switcher and other related equipment. We also have a proposed 142 linear foot retaining wall to the plan left of the proposed equipment. We have the proposed bioretention area, which is in the southwest corner of the parcel. And throughout the site, you can see we've got some proposed ground grid, underground distribution, conduit circuits, and fiber relocation areas. And then in terms of construction period BMPs, we're proposing a number of them. On the plan sheets, we do depict a stabilized construction entrance in the eastern portion of the site, or in the northern portion of the site. And on our details, we do show a stockpile protection area. And of course, we've got silt fence and protective measures around the isolated vegetated wetland and other areas of the site. So overview, but I guess at this point I will open it to questions, or if you'd like more detailed information on any pieces, we can elaborate on that.
Ms. Waters, thank you for that. Ms. Roberts, is it?
Yes.
Yeah, Ms. Roberts. Could you, before we open it up for questions, could you just elaborate a little bit more on how the drainage is now and how the drainage will be for the commission?
Sure, and I'd like to turn that question over.
Where stuff flows here's how it flows now, here's how, if there's no change, then you would say that, for example.
Okay. If you don't mind, I'll turn that question over to Tim Grace. He's our engineer and designed the stormwater management system.
Larry, if I can just
Hi,
point
this
out
is
that Dawn
Ryan
has
Bond.
joined the meeting.
Sorry, I'm late.
Hi, Don. We'll mark you present. For the record, Don Bernstein has joined the commission.
Hi, this is Tim from Ty and Bond. Can you hear me?
Yes, you're
Yes.
calling in now?
Yes.
That's fine.
So, I guess real briefly, the existing stormwater at the site isn't really treated at all. It essentially just flows off in a couple of directions to the northeast and then to the south, because there isn't any existing stormwater management at the site. What we're proposing is somewhat of a prototypical system with deep sump catch basins, drain manholes, and a stormwater treatment unit to eventually daylight to a bioretention basin that is proposed to be planted with low maintenance, pollinator friendly native species of plants. So based on that alone, it's a significant upgrade to the site just by introducing those features and being able to actually detain, collect, and treat the stormwater before it's discharged.
Okay, and does the stormwater end up at the bioretention area at all?
It does. The stormwater is basically detained completely in the bioretention basin because it's been designed to accommodate the volume of water for the 100-year storm. So even in a significant storm event, we don't expect to have any water actually leaving the basin. It's going to be detained and infiltrated there.
Okay. All right, good. Thank you, sir. John or Eileen, do you have some comments for us on this one?
Well, that'll be me. So as Jessica explained, this is an isolated wetland, so it's just, this project is jurisdictional under our bylaw only. They are doing some work that's, coming fairly close to the wetland, including building a pretty significant wall and removing some vegetation. But I am pretty impressed by their proposed stormwater management. I like the fact that so much of it is first of all, it's all being addressed, but so much of it is going into a bioretention area, so it's a nice LID feature. I don't have any issues with this project.
Okay. Well, let's go through a round of questions, and what we'll do is, you don't have to obviously answer every one of them, but anything that's significant, we often ask for a written response before the next meeting, usually like a week ahead of time, so they can be distributed to the commission. So,
Larry, just to remind you, this is an RDA. However, well, I was just going to say the applicant does wish to keep it open until the next meeting, so they could address questions, but just reminding you that it's an RDA.
okay, if there is no, Eileen, if there is no outstanding issues, are we in a position to close it tonight?
They would prefer to leave it open just because they will be opening with the planning board before our next meeting. So should the planning board have any changes to make, they'd have to come back to us and it would be messed. It's easier for them to leave it open,
Yes, it is. Okay.
but I don't have any issues with the project. Okay, done.
Good. Yeah, thanks, Eileen. All right, so let's go with start with Gail. Do you have any comments or questions on this one?
So I agree with Eileen that the features that they've designed are should be an improvement. I guess my only question is, and maybe I don't think it was addressed, regarding the wetland and that kind of the disturbance and the systems that are designed. Is there going to be any change in flow to that wetland? Are there going to be any, issues with that receiving the kind of water that it needs to maintain it as a wetland?
That is a great question. And I totally forgot to mention that this wetland is actually located up gradient of the proposed expansion area.
Okay,
So it's a little weird the way the topo contours are, but it's up gradient of the proposed wall. So
Okay.
the surface flows off that slope will go into that micro depression.
okay, thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Gail. Indra, anything?
Yes, I also agree that there is an improvement to stormwater management. And I have another question. You said that is mobile transformers. Is it on wheels or the transformers are?
It is driven in on a truck.
So there will not be any foundation. No earthwork
Uh,
there.
A little bit, there's a little bit of a pad. Eileen, I think there is, if you happen to have this, you might not have it pulled up, but we do have an image of what it looks like in our detail sheets at the end of the plan set. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, you guys continue chatting and I'll find it, okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, so it will be driven into the site, into the expansion
Okay.
yard.
And you said there is a retaining wall, I see. And how high that retaining wall is?
Maximum 16 feet above grade.
Maximum 16. And I would assume that has been designed by a structural engineer.
Yes, Haley and Aldrich was the design engineer on this project for the retaining wall.
Thank you.
Thank you, Indra.
Mhm.
Dawn, anything on this one?
Jessica, which did you want to show them?
It's toward the end of the set. It's on an Eversource drawing
Okay.
sheet. And it's at the very bottom of the sheet.
Oh,
Right before the
Sorry.
wall sheet, sorry. Two more up, I think. There we go. It's up, one,
back to this.
sheet 28. Yeah, it's a side view of the vehicle that the transformer sits on,
Right.
the very bottom.
Yeah, thank you, Jessica.
Yes. Okay. All right. Dawn, you with us?
Yeah, no questions.
Okay, all right. And how about Bill?
One question and I guess another educational question I want to ask. The first one is looking at the plan of the wetland area, it looks like there's quite a few gradient lines. It looks like it's quite a slope. Is that actually holding water in spite of the slope? That kind of looks strange to me. It's almost a 7 or 10 foot drop across it.
It is. It's a micro depression on the slope. It's a 3,500 square foot wetland, and it's a subtle change, but the vegetation and the soils and hydrology met the criteria for us to delineate it.
Interesting, because it's not really a flat, water bowl of any kind from the drawing.
Yeah. Yep.
The other question I have is not related to conservation at all, but just to educate me. How is this an upgrade by bringing in these transformers? What does it do? Does it increase the voltage, increase the current, increase the reliability? I mean, what does it do to actually make it an upgrade?
Yes, it increases the reliability, and I will turn that over to Pete to elaborate. Or to other Eversource folks, if you'd like.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to defer that to our team. Jeff, did you want to take that one?
Sure. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon, board members. So the transformer would be an upgrade in the area, just so it's more so for reliability and for the capacity in the area is getting to its limit. So the transformer would boost the area until we work more towards a permanent determination, because we're working on a brand new station in that specific area. So yes, the transformer will be more so for reliability and to boost the area at the same time.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you, Bill. I think we're on Kent. Anything?
I was just curious, what's the original size of the current transformer? Like what's the current lot size, like square footage?
The current parcel size? I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
just like the current like what it sits on, like how big is it? Because I know it says like there's an expansion of 6,500, but what's the original? I didn't see that in the.
So you're asking the current size of the pad where the transformer will be seated?
Yeah, exactly. What's the current one? I just because I saw the expansion size, I didn't know what the original size was, like square footage wise.
I do not have that on top of my head right now, and my apologies for that. But I believe it should be roughly 40 feet by 15 feet.
Okay.
Because it's going to be a trailer, like a normal size trailer with no head. It's just sitting on a flatbed trailer.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Kent. All right, I guess it's my turn. I guess I have really, Gail, you asked the one question I really had in mind, so I've come up with something else. I just want to understand, there's a lot of grading lines, and the water that's feeding into the bioretention area, is part of that water draining from the wetland depression at all? Or it's, you don't have a drain line, it looks like, says proposed drainage manhole on the left, just to the left of the isolated wetland. And are you have a pipe out of the wetlands to drain some of the water?
Tim, would you like to address that one?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
So in a significant rain event, it is possible that the isolated wetland could overtop and send some flows down towards the area where we are collecting water, but it's definitely not our intent to drain the water out of the wetland. The stormwater system was designed essentially to pick up all the runoff from the area around the wetland and other areas that contribute hydrologically to the site. But the only time that water would ever, I guess, make it into the system from the wetland would be in probably 100 or a 200-year storm event when the depression actually overtopped itself and then ran down the embankment.
There's not an active drain structure in the wetland area.
Correct, no.
Okay, that's what I was just wondering. I wasn't 100% sure. And the other thing is, you are combining is this correct to say that the water runoff from around the pond, around the wetland, coming from the south to the north, and the water around the pad coming from the northeast to towards the west, I guess, or towards the south, is combining and being collected, and then it's being sent to an underground drainage pipe and then onto the bioretention. Is there any other structure between the bioretention area and where you're collecting the water?
So the only other structure in there is the stormwater treatment unit.
The storm center.
Exactly, a storm scepter, correct. Yep.
And
so we have one
that
of those in line in between the catch basins and the drain manhole, and so that will provide the sediment removal before we outlet into the basin.
So that's the sediment removal off of the pad.
Yes, exactly.
All right. And does it drain the whole pad?
Yeah, essentially that entire expansion area is collected and drained into that drainage system. Yes.
All right. And the additional water that's collected in is it a ravine or is it, I don't know what it is. The water that's coming around the pond, how is that collected? It's just runoff into a infiltration trench?
Exactly. Yep.
Okay, so you have two sources of water. The water from the runoff around the wetlands, okay, being fed directly through a a swale, a trench of some sort, and then it's put into it keeps going, and then it's collected by somehow it's collected into the drainage manhole and then into the bioretention area. And then the water from the pad is collected through a pipe. Is that what you have?
Yeah, by pad, do you mean the mobile transformer pad?
Yes.
Yeah, no, actually, all of that goes into that one drainage structure, CB1, within that area.
Okay, got it. Okay. Now, on the bioretention area, that heavily shaded area from 178 to 170 elevation, is that like a level spreading thing for high volume water, high rain events?
Yes, exactly. So that's what we consider outlet protection to make sure that we don't have any scour or erosion during significant events.
All right, great. That looks smart to me. All right, I understand now, and this looks like a substantial improvement. This is an unusually well-engineered and designed project for a request for determination. So you guys have probably set the standard for all future ideas, perhaps, I don't know.
And Larry, John just reminded
thank
me
you.
that they also designed it to NOAA 14,
Okay,
so a high standard too.
okay, so that's 7 inches. I mean, so a 24-hour rainfall is 8.2. Is that something what it is? 8.2 inches in a
For the
24.
100 year,
Yeah, 100 year.
8.5, something like that.
Yeah, that's a lot of rain. Must be climate change. Okay, is there anyone in the audience for this? This is the Eversource power station. It's located at 64 Middlesex Turnpike. All right, I didn't hear anything from anyone. Is there anyone who wants to make a last comment? I guess I don't hear anyone. So, did anyone hear anything that these folks need to respond to before our next meeting, where I assume we'll talk about any changes if it results from the planning board, or alternatively, we will, and maybe be ready to just close this out and issue the decision. Is there anything that needs to be done?
Not for me.
Okay, everyone's shaking their heads. Therefore, we will see you on January 13th, people. How does that sound?
Sounds
Can
great.
can we have a roll call to continue?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for reminding me. Could I have a motion to continue the request for determination for the Eversource project at 64A Middlesex Turnpike until January 13th?
So moved, Don.
Second,
Second.
Gail.
All right, Don, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Indra,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. So by a vote of 5-0-0, the 64A Middlesex Turnpike project presented by the N-Star Electric Company, DBA Eversource, is continued to January 13th. Okay, folks, you probably won't need your whole team there, I suspect, for that. Eileen, will we send out the draft ahead of time?
Yeah, I can do that. I'll send it out probably a day or two before the meeting.
Right, that way they will have already read it, it speeds things along. All right, folks, thank you all very much for your time. Have a good evening.
Thank you. You too.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, next on our agenda is item 6B. Notice is hereby given the Town of Burlington Conservation Commission will hold a Webex virtual public meeting, during which time we will act upon a request for determination of applicability filed by Kelly DeCrescenzo for the proposed demolition of a shed and construction of a garage within a locally regulated riverfront area in the 100-foot buffer zone to stream bank and bordering vegetative wetlands. The property is located at 168 Wynn Street in Burlington. We will thereafter issue a determination of applicability. The application is actually being heard under Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40, which is the State's Wetland Protection Act, in Burlington Bylaw, Article 14. A copy of the application is available by email to conservation@burlington.org. Okay, who do we have here for this one?
Carrie DiCrescenzo, present.
Hi there, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. How are you guys?
Good, good. And you live at 168 Wynn Street, right?
Correct.
All right, so the way this works is you're our guest, so you get to talk first. You can say as much or as little by way of a summary of what you're planning.
Sure.
think-
So, I'm just planning on putting up a 24 by 24 garage, in a location where I currently have a shed. The shed is slightly smaller in dimensions than that, the existing shed. I'm planning on taking the existing shed and moving it over to the other side of the property, which you could see on the plan, and getting rid of a small wooden shed that I currently have in that area. So from what I understand, I'm about 100 feet or within the 100-foot buffer zone of the wetlands, on the back of my property. So that's, I guess, the concern, with the project and why we're here tonight.
Very good summary, thank you. All right, John and Eileen, one of you want to offer a few comments, please?
Sure. I don't need much more than what Carrie said. As she's explaining, she wants to remove this small shed here, move it over to where this one is, and get rid of this old one because it's in poorer shape, and build a bigger garage on a slab. The jurisdictional areas are, as she said, a wetland. She's sort of on the edge of the buffer to the wetland. And there's also this here, which is marked as brook. It's on the regulatory streams map. It is a tributary to a named stream, which I just can't remember now. It might be Sawmill. John will probably correct me about which one it was. So it's on the regulatory streams map. So she is within the riverfront area of a locally regulated stream. Hence the RDA.
All right, do you have any concerns over the
You know, I
project?
don't really. It is a slightly bigger footprint, but what the entranceway here is towards it is gravel, and as she explained, they don't really want it as a car storage area. They want it more for storing equipment, so they don't intend to replace this area here with asphalt. So it makes it a fairly minimal additional change in the riverfront. So I don't have any major concerns with it. No.
Okay. All right, so let's see if there's any questions. Thank you, Eileen. Dawn,
No further questions.
Gail,
No, not really.
Indra,
No,
how about Bill?
So this stream is only locally regulated, it's not under the Wetland Protection Act?
It's a locally regulated stream.
Okay, so we don't have, and is this more than 100 feet from it?
It's about, I think I measured before that it's 120. I have it on the determination and I've just forgotten the numbers now.
Fine, all
Out-
right, that's all I have.
Outer riverfront.
Yep.
Okay, Kent, anything? Kent? We're not hearing Kent. Maybe his audio's off?
He's muted at the moment.
All right. All right, Kent, we don't hear you, but if you hear us, we're going to go by you. Okay.
Mhm.
Okay, and I guess it's up to me. I just have one question for Eileen. Given its riverfront area, is there anything that we need to ask the owner to do that would improve the riverfront area beyond what, it looked pretty clean to me, but beyond what?
That's up to you, Larry. You could suggest a few shrubs or something, but I hadn't initially, and I could certainly add that into the draft determination.
Yeah, I'm not sure I was feeling that, but and the commission's welcome to say something if they want.
Well, that's why I asked whether it was just locally regulated or not. If
No.
it was under the Wetland Protection Act and it was within 100 feet, we would certainly want to have an improvement, but it's outside the 100 foot and it's just locally regulated, so I don't think that's necessary.
Good point, Bill, thank you. Okay, so I think we went through everyone. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to comment? All right, so Eileen, we have a draft negative conditional determination. And it says under the State Wetlands Protection Act, if it's not, we should remove that if it's only under the bylaw.
I'm sorry, where did I say this?
At the top of the page. Under findings, way up top.
Oh, I'm sorry. Applicant proposed to remove a shed and construct a 24 by 20 foot garage behind an existing family house. The work would be approximately 125 feet from a locally regulated stream and on the outer edge of the 100-foot buffer to bordering vegetated wetland. Is that what you mean?
No, way up.
Oh,
way
I'm
up
sorry.
top, the big
Down
bold
further.
at the top. The sheet I have says Burlington Bylaw Article 14 and the Mass General Law, Chapter 131, Section 40. You said that doesn't apply.
Well, they're also at the edge of the riverfront, the buffer zone, the bordering vegetated wetland.
Oh, so it does
So
apply.
that is under DEP.
Oh, okay, got it. Okay, all right, thank you.
I wrote here the outer edge of the 100-foot buffer. The work was no closer to resource areas than existing conditions. The work under jurisdictional areas, it said the work was about 95 feet from the BVW and within riverfront of a locally regulated stream. The Commission did not formally approve the exact boundaries of the wetland resource areas on site, and the Commission's negative determination includes standards, erosion control conditions. This says, Kerry, just that this is only for work as described herein, and if you choose to do anything else, that you'll have to come back in front of the Commission. Erosion control in the form of, that should be of 9-inch straw wattles backed with towed-in silt fence or 9-inch compost tubes or stake tables shall be installed between the house and stream, no closer than 80 feet from the stream. That would just be close to the actual the work site, Kerry. All construction and demolition materials and excavated soils shall be disposed of off-site in a legal manner, and no excavated soil shall be placed beyond the erosion control boundary. The existing shed shall be moved to a location no closer than 80 feet from the stream. She does intend to move it to the other side of the yard, but this gives her a little bit of leeway. There should be no stockpiling of soil or other materials within 80 feet of the wetland. And Kerry, the rest of these are pretty standard. No tracking of sediments onto public roadways shall be allowed, and if you get dirt on the roadway, you should sweep it. Pesticide, herbicides, and fungicides should not be used within wetlands or within 100 feet of wetlands. No removal of trees or shrubs is authorized under this decision. And the last two are just standard ones about how the Commission or its agents can go on site just to check, and non-compliance shall be deemed a violation of the Wetlands Protection Act.
Okay, so Kerry, you have any questions on these? These are kind of standard stuff.
Yeah, no, I don't. I read all the conditions in the document Eileen sent earlier, and there's no problem complying with any of those. So
Right. They're pretty much everybody gets at least these. So
right.
okay, all right. Are there any changes by the Commission? Okay, could I have a motion to issue a negative conditional determination for the project at 168 Wynn Street under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 and the State Wetlands Protection Act?
So moved, Indra.
Second.
Bill?
Don, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And the chair votes yes, so by a vote of 500, the project at 168 Wynn Street is approved. Good luck
Great,
with your
thank you.
project.
Thanks a lot.
Take care.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay. All right, next we're on item 6C. Notice is hereby given the Town of Burlington Conservation Commission will hold a Webex virtual public meeting, during which time we have a request for determination of applicability filed by Northeastern University. The commission will take all information related to proposed demolition of a water pump house and cutting and capping water lines within the buffer zone to bordering vegetative wetlands. It is located at 145 South Bedford Street in Burlington. The commission will thereafter issue a determination. The application is being heard pursuant to the State Wetlands Protection Act and Burlington Bylaw Article 14. And like the other applications, you can get a copy of it by emailing conservation@burlington.org. Okay, so someone here for the Northeastern project.
Yes, my name is Bill Marr with Niche Engineering.
Nice to see you.
Nice to see you again, too.
You can please feel free to say whatever you would like by way of summary.
Sure. Thank you, commission members, for this meeting tonight. As I stated, my name is Bill Marr with Niche Engineering. We were before the commission 3 years ago for a couple of projects up at Northeastern University, one for the new building at 145 South Bedford Street, and then also for a new water line to feed the sites and provide better pressure. Again, 3 years ago, before the commission. We are here tonight to request a negative determination for an old water pump house that is located on the access road to the site. And just a small portion of the building is located within the wetlands, or, within a wetland, resource area for a buffer zone, which is this, thick, heavy gray line running through the building. The wetlands are located to the right of the screen on the other side of the access road, into the site there. We are proposing to demolish the existing, building and the cutting and capping of existing water lines, to and from that building, as well as electrical. There's an electrical overhead feed from a wire, overhead wires from a utility pole across the access drive to a utility pole that then feeds an electric meter into the building there. We are proposing some erosion controls in a kind of like in a L-shaped along a fence line of the property to the north and to the east, and then also to along the existing swale system that handles the stormwater runoff for the driveway. We are proposing, to install some also some additional erosion control devices in catch basins in that swale system there along the edge of the roadway. There is an existing hydrant. We will route the erosion controls around that hydrant to the back of it so that access can be maintained to that. And once the site is demolished, we are going to regrade with lumen seed and basically stick to the existing grades that are at the site. We're not looking to do an awful lot of earthworks or earth moving, for this project.
Very
That's
good,
about
sir.
it.
Thank you for the summary. Okay, Eileen or John, would one of you want to take this one and give us some comments, please?
Eileen will take it again. Bill made it all very clear. There's a wetland over on this side to the east of the proposed work. It's a small pump house. Several of us were out there today and we saw it. It's across the road from the wetland. And as Bill said, they're proposing to put up quite a lot of erosion controls that will keep everything well away from the wetland. They're going to be cutting and capping the two water pipes. The only questions I have for Bill is just a clarification. And I think and I assume that the water pipes will then be left in place. Is that correct?
Yeah,
Will they need to be
correct.
filled or anything?
No, nope. Because right now there is no water going through them. So because of the new lines that were installed several years ago, not only for the campus project, but also for the campus many years ago. So we're just going to abandon them in place after we cut and cap them. But we can plug them up if that is the board's wish.
Not necessarily. I was just wondering. In fact, Larry, if anything, this is an improvement because they just won't have that pump house with its impervious surface anymore.
Right, right. Okay, thank you, Eileen. It sounds like you don't have a major concern.
No, I don't. No.
Okay, excellent. Okay, Don, Do you have any comments?
No, I don't have any comment.
Gail,
No, all set.
Indra,
No, all set.
Bill?
Just a comment to help me read such drawings in the future. It says RND, like the telephone pole. What does that mean? Remove and what?
Remove and dispose.
And dispose, okay. And then the hydrant had another symbol on it. Was it M and P, I think, the hydrant?
Right, and that's just maintain and protect.
And protect, okay. Thank you for that.
You're welcome.
All right, Kent?
Nothing to add.
Okay, thank you. Two quick questions, sir. How long is this project gonna take?
I expect, probably just a couple of months.
Couple of months project.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Because of the grading lines at all, do you feel, or does anyone on the commission feel that any temporary stabilization like straw or anything like that to prevent erosion into the street is needed?
If you're asking me, Larry, it depends on when they do it. If they're waiting until spring, then no, I don't think so.
Okay,
Bill, when do you tend to do it?
In the late winter time, springtime, this could be, say, like a March, April, May type project.
So whatever seed they put down will probably take pretty quickly then. But I'll go out to visit.
but I mean, no, my point is if it's a 2-month thing and there's unstabilized ground and you just have erosion controls, because of the topography, some of the stuff might start to roll into the street. So you might need temporary stabilization to stop it during heavy rains.
Well, we could certainly recommend that put that onto the plan for some slope stabilization mat. Just like the roll stuff there. Just a small roll just to help encourage stabilization of that area.
I think we should have temporary stabilization before any high volume rain events to, if it's unstabilized. Okay, if it's just a routine thing, it's not necessary, but I think I'd rely on Eileen or John on how to frame the wording.
I'm not sure it's needed, Larry, until we sort of see where it stands and how long it takes. I'd actually be quite surprised if they took 2 months to do this. It's a pretty small project, right, Bill?
Yes.
I'm only going on the 2 months based on what this gentleman said. He said 2 months. I said, well, I mean, you certainly could have a major rain event during 2 months.
Right. But in all reality, I think this project could be less. As Eileen was stating, but just to be safe, that's what I'm saying. Just the couple of months. But we could certainly make sure that the contractor provides any additional requirements as needed. We do have requirements and specifications for the contractor that just because what we show in the plans is not all that's required of him. If he needs to install some additional materials to prevent any erosion control or sediments leaving the site and getting into the storm drain system, that's his responsibility.
Of course, the commission reserves the right to require additional erosion controls if there seems to be a problem anyway, so.
Right.
I'm not overly worried. I just thought I'd raise the issue. Okay. All right, is there anyone in the audience for this? No, okay, so Eileen, would you review the draft, please?
Sorry, I will. I just had to get it ready. Okay. Okay, applicant is Northeastern University and property owners are also Northeastern University. The applicant proposed to demolish a water pump house and cut and cap water lines entering and exiting the pump house within the buffer to bordering vegetated wetlands. They provided 3 plans, the civil notes, demolition, erosion control plan, and the civil site details. The work was located at the edge of the 100-foot buffer to bordering vegetated wetlands. The location of these sources is shown in the reference plans. The Commission had previously reviewed and approved the location of these resource area boundaries as shown on the approved plans when we had the Northeastern project before, as Bill described. The Commission's negative determination includes standard erosion control conditions. And as Bill knows well, this negative determination will be only for the project as outlined above. Prior to beginning any other construction on site, sediment barriers shall be installed and then inspected by Conservation Department staff. Towed in silk fence and staked 9-inch wattles shall be used as sediment barriers on this site. All construction, demolition materials and excavated soil shall be disposed of off-site in a legal manner and not beyond the erosion control boundary. No stockpiling of soils or other material within 50 feet of the swale. No tracking of sediments onto public roadways shall be allowed. In the event tracking does occur, sediments shall be swept daily. There shall be no filling or grading of property under this decision. The grade of the existing buffer strip shall not be altered, and all existing flow patterns shall be maintained. No dewatering on site unless and until the Commission has or department has reviewed and approved a dewatering plan. And no removal of trees or shrubs is authorized under this decision. And the last ones are the standard as pesticides, herbicides, fungicides shall not be used, and members of the Commission may inspect the site, and non-compliance shall be deemed a violation of the Wetlands Protection Act.
Okay, so. All right, do you have any questions about these conditions first, Bill?
No, I don't. Eileen had emailed them to me earlier, and in reviewing, we have no objections to them.
Right, they're pretty standard stuff, okay?
Correct.
All right, how about the commission? Do you think anything further is needed? I guess the answer is no. Therefore, I have one quick question, Bill.
Yes.
On number 5, we say no stockpiling or other materials within 50 feet of the swale. Is that doable on this site?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right, so could I have a motion to issue a negative conditional determination for the project at 145 South Bedford Street for Northeastern University under Burlington Bylaw Article 14 in the State Wetlands Protection Act?
So moved, Don.
Second.
Second, Bill.
Don, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail?
There we
Yeah.
go. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Indra?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And myself is yes, so by a vote of 5, 0, the project at 145 South Bedford Street for Northeastern University is approved. Bill, good luck with your project.
Okay, thank you very much, and happy holidays to all of you. Thank you very much.
Same to you, sir.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Okay, we're on second page of the agenda. Okay, we're on item number 7. Notice is hereby given that the Town of Burlington Conservation Commission will hold a virtual public hearing, during which time will take information related to erosion and sedimentation control permit application filed by the Town of Burlington's DPW. It is for the construction of water treatment and pump buildings at 70 Winter Street in Burlington. The application is being heard pursuant to Burlington Bylaw Article 14, Section 6. The commission will review all information relative to the application and thereafter may issue an erosion and sedimentation control permit for the proposed activities. A copy of the application is available on the Conservation Commission website and may be downloaded at that location. Okay, so do we have somebody here for that one?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, John Sanchez here, DPW. Can you
Good
hear me?
evening, John. How are you?
Fantastic. How are you?
Good, thanks.
So I'm going to make a brief statement, and then I'm going to be followed by Amy Coppers-Constantino with more details on the project. It just for the commissioners who may not be familiar with this project, this is a project related to our issue with PFAS in our drinking water that came about May of this year at both treatment plants. As you know, we exceed the limits that the Mass DEP set for that contaminant. So basically what we've done since May is we put this on a very fast track to get a project constructed as soon as possible so we can solve the problem for our residents. Town meeting approved funding for the project in September, and our goal is to actually go out to bid in January for the construction of this project. The reason we've been able to move so quickly on it is that we divvied out the project in different parts, so we can actually bid out equipment, parts, coring of piping, and things like that separately, so we can get the filters here on time for when we actually have the building under construction. If we didn't do it this way, it will definitely take a couple of years to actually get to the same point. So it's a little different than we typically work on, but we're on that fast track, and we hope that you will support us on getting this project constructed as soon as possible.
Of course, thank you for the summary.
Thank you.
Did you introduce your very capable town engineer, Mr. Hayes?
I think that Tom is with us here as well, and he actually has been managing this project from my point of view. I don't see him in my screen, but I know he's here with us.
Yeah, I'm looking at the top half of him, so he's here.
So,
All right, good to see you. Also, who's next? Who's talking next?
so Amy Coppers Constantino from Wright Pierce, which is Wright Pierce is the consultant that we contracted for this project, will actually show a little bit of what we're doing and being able to answer any questions you may have.
That's great, thank you.
So
Yep.
thank you.
Good evening, everyone. And I'm here as well with Jeff Preble, who is our civil engineer for the project. I'm the process engineer who is responsible for coordinating with all our building service groups, as well as our civil engineers, and for managing this project for Wright Pierce with the town of Burlington. So I can give you an overview of the project. We went out there and we did wetland flagging in September of this year, and we did identify an isolated wetland area on the Woburn side of this site. The site is unique. It straddles 3 towns. So we did identify an isolated wetland. We also did map the reservoir, Mill Pond as the top of bank, and then Maple Meadowbrook, which was diverted around the existing water treatment plant, daylights across the street in Woburn, and we have mapped that as a riverfront area. All the work is occurring outside of those resource areas and buffer zones. The major components for this project for the upgrades to the water treatment plant includes a transfer pump station, which will be located behind the existing water treatment plant. It's approximately 32 feet by 20-foot building in the back there. And then the large PFAS treatment building, which is being constructed in the slope there as shown. And that building is housing the pressure vessels that will remove the PFAS from the water. Flow will be diverted from the existing treatment process, so that treatment plant will remain online. What we're doing is we're actually pumping water from the filters within the existing plant, and we're going to be pumping it to the PFAS treatment building and then returning flow back in the plant for disinfection before it is pumped to the town for distribution. As part of the upgrades too, we do have some, because this is a really tight site, there's not much real estate to construct this building. We've made the building as tight as we can with providing flexibility for the town in the future to, add additional treatment systems if needed. But as you can see, it's a very congested site with utilities. We have expanded the entranceway so that we do have access to those buildings. So we've extended a crushed stone drive to the PFAS treatment building, and then we've designed 2 bioretention areas for all the runoff. So they will be treated in sediment forebay areas, and then they will go to these bioretention areas. The site is also a challenge because we do have high groundwater as well. So we did not assume infiltration on site due to that reason. So those bioretention areas will retain the runoff during a storm event, and then once that storm has passed, it will slowly release that water into the existing drainage system.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Is anyone else speaking?
No, I asked Jeff to just participate if there's any specific questions that I was not able to answer.
Okay,
Good evening, all.
good evening. Okay, if there's nothing further from your side, let's, John or Eileen, one of you want to take the lead and give us some of your initial comments, please?
Sure, that'll be me. So once again, I agree that there's no work within any wetland resource areas or buffer zones. They're all around the area, but this project is beyond the boundaries of the buffer zones. So it is an erosion and sedimentation control / stormwater bylaw application under our bylaw. I do have a couple questions about the plan. The narrative says that there's about 3,500 square feet of new asphalt pavement, and all I can see is the mill and overlay on the plan. So is there additional pavement that doesn't exist, or is that just referencing the mill and overlay area?
No, previously we had that crushed stone area designed as asphalt, but working with the DPW, they recommended that we make that crushed stone. So that
Okay.
was previously asphalt, but we've updated it. So we could update our stormwater report to reflect that change.
Okay, so then the total increase in impervious area is only about 5,000 square feet, correct? Roughly.
From the two buildings, yes.
Right, yeah, okay. And so I have a question about the infiltration. So I can understand why you would assume no infiltration, but why are you actually putting an impermeable layer at the bottom of those basins?
Well, we do have high groundwater at those locations, so the intent was to filter the water in those bioretention areas and then slowly release it to the drainage system. So that's why we did line those bioretention areas.
Do they have to be lined?
They do it in order to meet the best management practice criteria for separation to groundwater.
So the bottom of the basin is less than 2 feet to the seasonal high water?
So we did some borings on site, and you can kind of see them. We did them within the footprint of both structures, and we did find, yep. So there's one there. There's another one that's kind of outside that building, and there's 5 within a large building. We did find groundwater that range from a couple feet below grade to about 7 feet below grade. When we did some additional exploration on site, and we did not encounter groundwater at boring 1, which is the one directly behind the existing water treatment plant. But we do have some evidence that groundwater in some areas is 2 feet below grade.
Okay.
Okay. And one other question now, could you please explain, so you have a swale around the retaining wall, so it goes around the top of the wall and then comes around the right-hand side. So is that designed to then flow down the slope into the bioretention area?
Yeah, so I think that was to be able to direct any drainage off that slope, and then lead it around the large structure, because that building is being constructed into the slope. So the 3 side walls for that PFAS treatment building will actually be retaining walls supporting that slope. So that allows that water to then run off to that bioretention area.
So there won't be enough water coming out of that swale to actually erode that slope, will there?
No, I don't anticipate for that large of a swale, no.
That's
Okay.
going to be a stone lined swale coming around there too, so those will be the protection of the riprap that will be installed there.
Okay, that's all I have, Larry. Thanks.
All right, thank you. Okay, let's see what the comments are. If there's anything significant, we can always continue it to get answers on this. Dawn, do you have any questions on this one?
Yeah, it's a general question really, but I'm wondering, has the town been able to pinpoint the source of the contamination?
I think you're muted, John.
So, so we've been working. We have taken some samples along the Shoshin River, which is our source, and we have a pretty good idea of a couple of different sources that may be the reason why we have high PFAS in the water. We have not, you know, we don't have an exact point where they're coming from, but if you can imagine what the headwaters of the Shoshin River is, you'll probably have a good idea of what the main source of this may be. And again, we have to do more research. We took a number of samples and we'll continue to do that to pinpoint it better. But it's pretty much at the headwaters of the Shoshin River.
Okay, thank you. Dawn, anything else? Dawn, you're muted.
No, nothing else.
Gail?
So when you're doing the construction for this and cutting into the hill for the construction, is any of that soil going to be used on site, or is it going to just be trucked off?
It's going to be trucked off. So that was part of our geotechnical work was soil characterization as well, so that we know how that soil will be managed once we excavate it off-site.
Okay. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Indra?
Yes, so did you say that there would be a 2 feet difference between the bottom of the retention basin and the high water, groundwater level? Will there be a 2 feet difference?
No, I think the response is because we cannot meet that separation, that therefore they're lined.
Therefore, they're lined. So you have the pipes from the basins, right?
Yes.
And connected to the drainage system.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Okay, Bill?
Yes, I still have some questions about this drainage swale going behind the building. The way I'm looking at it, and trust me, correct me if I'm wrong, the water will be flowing basically as the drawing shows up on the drawing, correct? And around behind the building. Is that what I'm reading?
That's correct, yes.
So then how does it get from there down to the drainage features here,
Once we get around by the biocell, there is a catch basin within that riprap area.
Okay.
Between the 104, 105 contour area, and it connects onto existing storm drain there.
Okay, I missed that. So that'll get, and then it's piped down to the bioretention.
Right.
Okay. My other question is, so the back or the right on the drawing, the right-hand side of the building, that wall you said will be the retaining wall. How much does the building extend above the ground level there?
At that location, if you can bear with me, so that building is quite tall. Just the treatment systems themselves are 25 feet tall.
Okay. Wow.
So it's quite a tall building, and on the back side of that building, the average height is above grade, and its average is about 20 feet.
Okay, so it's well above the ground level. One of my concerns about this swale is, you know, what if there's a tree fall or something and it gets blocked and the water can't drain through the swale? Is it going to build up and perhaps have some way of infiltrating into the building? Were you using the building as a retaining wall?
We do have a perimeter drain as well around that building. It's a dashed line that's around the footprint of that structure. You might be able to see it. Yep.
So that would be a backup if there was a breach of the other system.
Yeah, that's going to help to also drain any runoff and water behind that structure.
Okay. You answered my question. Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Kent?
Not all the questions I had were addressed.
Okay, thank you. A couple of things that I have. At the end of the riprap line drainage channel at the top of the wall, 12 inches deep, it seems to be catching the flow of water down the hill from the dam and the flow of water to the right of the building as you're looking at it. Is that correct?
Yes.
All right. And you said that the water is going to roll off the side of the building and into the drainage features. However, should you be showing contours, proposed contours that are indicative of a swale so you don't have erosion?
I think we have a detail for that on one of our detail sheets. Let me see if I can. And I don't know if it's obvious too. There is also a retaining wall. In addition to the building and the three sides acting as a retaining wall, we are also constructing a modular block retaining wall to protect the slope on that side.
Okay, it just
So
seemed like water was running off just from the overall plan. So I didn't see any micro grading that indicates that there's the contract, maybe I didn't look at the detail, but the contractor I did not see a sail, so a swale that he would know to construct.
yeah, we do have a detail on if on sheet 99 C99, I apologize, 502, and it does show a stone line ditch with 3-to-1 slopes.
Okay, so it's a swale type thing
Yes.
to.
Yes. Yeah.
So it is there. It's just that what you're saying is the proposed on the overall plan, the grading doesn't show that. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
And so the contractor will know to construct this?
Yep, and we can maybe you know, point and direct to this detail in this sheet so that it's obvious for them to construct it.
That would be great. That would be
Yep.
great. Okay, just avoids a problem later because you know the constructor misses it.
Yep.
The second question I have is, I understand that in some places for your drainage features that you have lined, that the water is at 2 feet, in some places at 7 feet. But since the design of the thing is intended to overflow anyway, can't you keep the same design and take whatever infiltration you can get?
Jeff, I'll let you, if we feel that we can design that with an unliner, without a liner.
Yeah, we'll have to, I'd have to take a look at that and kind of compare where we've got the groundwater information versus where these are located and
Right. I mean, I understand you don't want groundwater just draining
Right.
into the storm. I mean, I get the point, but I was just wondering if you could take a look at that.
yeah.
Yeah, we did there are 2 monitoring wells on site that are existing, and we did measure the depth of groundwater. And I did go back into the report when those were installed, and they're located between the existing generator building and the large PFAS treatment building. If you zoom in, there's 2 monitoring wells in the crushed stone area. You can kind of see them. That depth of groundwater when they were installed and when we just checked them last week was approximately, you know, 1.5 to 2 feet at those locations.
Is that the estimated seasonally high groundwater or the groundwater at this time of year?
Well, it was the groundwater this time of year and when it was installed. So it seems to be, and when we did the borings on that slope, we did find, I think on B3, and I'm trying to find the other one, B6, which is also in the crushed stone area, but just closer to the street. we
Yep.
we did have shallow groundwater there as well.
All right, could you take a look at what you got for those areas and
Yep.
just take a look and see if we can take advantage of any infiltration we can get without purposely having rising groundwater being drained into the floodplain system.
Yep, we can look at that.
All right.
Larry, I have one question related to this, that discussion that just happened. You mentioned the fact that there are 2 monitoring wells. Why are there monitoring wells there? Is there some history of contamination?
There was a that generator building has a diesel fuel tank, and there was a small leak over time in the fill pipe that did release some diesel fuel, and that was the soils were removed under an LRA, a limited release abatement. And I actually received the report from the Board of Health on that because it was closed out. So there was a small release, the soil was removed, and monitoring wells were put in to monitor if there was any further contamination to the groundwater, which there was not.
Okay, so there's no concerns there that would want you to say, do not infiltrate because of contamination?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Also,
We'll get some infiltration in the walkway, the kind of connection from the back of the generator building over to the new transfer pump station. That section is kind of a reinforced turf section through there, so we are allowing some infiltration to take place along that feature.
all right, third question I have is what provisions do you have for temporary stabilization during construction? So you don't have the stuff, I mean, I get it that most of it is not going to run off into the street, but it might run off into your process building area and create kind of a mess for you guys. But do you have any plans for temporary stabilization during construction because of the slopes?
Yep, so we do have slopes stabilization measures in the contract, and we do have some silt socks shown as well. And we are protecting the catch basins and drainage basins. We are also requiring a stone construction entrance for maintaining any soils on site. I think our plan is to kind of move that further down, closer to Winter Street, but certainly that will help prevent the migration of soils off site as well. So between those 4 measures, I think we've we're minimizing disruption during construction.
Great, thank you for that answer.
The back slope to the proposed PFAS building, they'll be heavily mulched and stuff to keep all that material and stuff in place, so it's not getting in the contractor's way while he's setting his footings and getting the building constructed. So it'll be a key area to make sure we have good controls set up on.
Yeah, that sounds perfect, Jeff. The other question is this is a process related question for my own interest and maybe the interest of people watching. I assume that the basic process is these large vessels of activated carbon. Is that correct?
Yep, so our design is for large granular activated carbon. We've sized them pretty conservatively for 40,000 pounds of media per vessel. And to treat the design flow of the facility, we have 3 trains of lead lag vessels. So again, we've over-designed the contact time for the primary vessel, but however, we also have lag vessels so that if any PFAS were to break through we call it the lead vessel, there's a lag vessel that will also be used to absorb that PFAS before
So
that water.
These vessels all of them are in series and you're monitoring the stream in between.
Yeah, well, we monitor the head loss built up over time across these pressure vessels, and from that we can deduce when breakthrough will occur.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, let me ask you another question for people's information. How often do these things does the activated carbon have to be regenerated? And, and how many times can it be regenerated before you do a complete replacement?
So we are currently piloting the GAC, granular activated carbon filters on site. There's a setup within the existing water treatment plant, and we're looking at that. We've also, that pilot's ongoing, so I don't have any answers for you other than, you know, that it's online and GAC is a proven technology for PFAS removal. We also did collect samples and we sent it out to 2 carbon manufacturers for what they call rapid small scale column testing, which predetermines the life of the carbon before the PFAS breakthrough. So we're waiting for those results as well. Based on our experience, we do think you're going to get about a year's worth of life through these GAC pressure vessels before you have to do media replacement. But like I said, we are anticipating operating this system with lead lag filters. So as you're replacing the media in the lead filters, you're going to, you know, divert the flow to the lag filters, which that media is unspent. And so you're able to continuously operate this system without any breakthrough of PFAS into the effluent, into the drinking water.
And will you be comparing different sources of carbon for the different amounts of absorption?
So
you
we're
get the best
piloting.
get the best bang for your buck?
That is, yeah. So we are piloting 2 carbon medias right now, and we're going to weigh, but like you said, you know, if they both are successful in treating the PFAS, then, you know, our recommendation to the town is have an open bid, and who the best, you know, the best price wins. Or if one outperforms the other media, our recommendation to the town is sole source to that supplier, just because of the, like you said, life cycle costs of replacing media in the future.
Exactly. And when you, at the end of a year, this is the last question. Sorry for asking so many questions.
No, it's okay.
Are you planning to regenerate the carbon that was there and bring it back so many times because it's less money? Are you just going to get fresh virgin carbon?
No, the town will have the option of getting virgin carbon or regenerated carbon. Both are approved for PFAS removal. The carbon that has been used on site will be hauled off and regenerated for reuse somewhere. It won't necessarily come back to Burlington, but it will be regenerated for reuse by the manufacturer.
I get it. So you'll be looking at price as well, I assume, for
Yes.
doing that.
Yep.
Okay, that was my last question, as I promised. Okay.
Not a problem.
All right, is there anyone in the audience for this? This is the new PFAS treatment building, expansion of the existing water treatment plant at the reservoir. Is there anyone that has a question that's in the audience that would like to say anything? Okay, there is none. Let's review where we are. I heard that you're going to take a look at whether we can take advantage, using good design practice, obviously, of partial infiltration and the rest overflowing into the storm sewer system from the drainage features. And you're going to put a note on the plan about the drainage swale from the wall, so it catches the eye of the contractor. He knows that there is some micro grading that needs to be done to create the swale, so it goes into the drainage feature. Is there anything else? Did anyone hear anything else that I didn't catch? John or Eileen, is there anything further you need from these folks?
I don't think so.
All right, so the next meeting is January 13th. I guess we would anticipate closing. Is that correct, Sean?
Yes, we'll have a draft ready for that meeting.
All right, how does that sound, Mr. Sanchez?
So I was actually gonna go back to Amy and the planning board, because I believe the planning board will need the Concom to be complete before they actually approved, and they had us set up for January.
Well, we can give them written comments that we don't really have any issues, you know.
Okay.
We'll give them a comment. They'll feel comfortable.
All right. So that's the, I guess that would be the issue, because I need them to close out and vote that, and they were pretty much ready to do that the other night, as you know, John. Other than they wanted to hear the comments from you.
Okay.
So if there's not an issue on that, I don't foresee an issue on our end.
Okay, yeah, but if we tell them there's no major issues or almost none, no issues at all, they will probably not have an issue with moving ahead. Okay.
Excellent.
So I think we are, so Amy, thank you very much.
Thank you.
All your effort on this, and as always, John and Tom, it's always good to see you. You have to come back more often to visit us.
Absolutely. Good seeing you all. Thank you very much.
All right, you folks have a good evening.
Thank you. You too.
All right, thank you very much.
Okay, thank you,
Bye.
Jeff.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Don't forget for a roll call to continue.
Okay, that's right. Could I have a motion to continue the erosion sedimentation control bylaw hearing for the town of Burlington DPW to construct a new water treatment and pump building? Is there a motion to that effect?
So moved, Gail.
Second.
Second, Don?
Okay, Don, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so that's a vote of, I think if I called everyone, that's 5-0-0. Very good, thank you. Okay, next. We're down at 7 Freeport Drive. It's a continued public hearing, notice of intent by Aswin Shaveri. It is to construct a residential addition, DEP file number 122-664. Somebody here for that one?
Yes.
Okay. So, would you like to make any comments at this point?
Yeah, for the record, Stevie Cavallo of Farland Corp. At the last public hearing, we presented the project, we discussed a letter from DEP, and since then we've gone out, we've performed the soil evaluation, determined seasonal high groundwater. We've revised the plan to show the elevation of seasonal high groundwater in relationship to the roof recharge system. We've also added some plantings along the existing limit of clearing towards the rear of the property. And we've revised or updated the narrative just to make it a little clearer that the existing structures to remain and that we're adding flood vents to the existing foundation and that the proposed foundation will be built up on piles.
Okay, John and Eileen, one of you want to take the lead and tell us if you are satisfied that all issues or if you have further questions.
Okay, so I reviewed the submitted revised materials and I didn't see the, where was the information on the test pits for the dry wells? For the infiltrators?
Right on the plan below the legend, there's a soil log. And then to the right, well, we have elevations of the roof recharge system. And if you look towards the left, it shows the elevation of the seasonal high groundwater.
Are you going to share that, Eileen?
Yeah, I could share the screen if that's okay.
Yeah, I was just trying to get to it. So if he gets to it faster than me, that's fine. I was just trying to figure out where he was talking about.
Sure.
So you're saying 72 inches is the redox?
That's correct. If you, oh, it won't let me zoom in, huh? sudden. But we had 16 inches of fill and then down to 24 inches of buried A horizon, very thin B horizon, and then we went down 84 inches with our excavation. And this is very fine sand. We probably could have gone deeper, but it just kept caving in. I've got photos that I took. The deeper he went, the more it just started to undermine. And we observed seasonal high groundwater redox at 72 inches, which is at an elevation of 113.8. And then we added that to this detail at the elevations of the system here and the elevation of seasonal high groundwater determined. We performed that soil test kind of in the middle of these two recharge systems, right here. That's where we performed it, which is actually probably the lowest, lowest spot in the yard there. Started getting higher here. We didn't want to obviously do anything here because that's where there's existing pavement. And they do have an existing stockade fence, so doing something here just would have been difficult.
Okay, so that's one of the things that the DEP said about the infiltration system, but the other thing they said was you should provide a functional analysis for the infiltration structures during the flood events, the 25, 50, and 100-year flood events.
Yep.
What flood event will reach the units and compromise the actual recharge areas?
Mm-hmm. And we provide, I'm not sure why they don't, it's not being mentioned, but we provided them in our whole notice of intent submittal. We provided a summary table here of runoff rates, runoff volumes, pre, versus, post. And then in addition to that, we did a whole pre, versus, post analysis, and we provided them with all of that information. This was provided as part of the initial notice of intent.
So I don't think that's what their question is. I think their question is, what will happen to that system if it's inundated by floodwater? So there's basically the whole site is underwater during a flood event. And will that compromise the system and damage it? I think that's the way I interpret their question.
No, the system's meant to take stormwater runoff if it's inundated by the 100-year storm. And if anything, it's providing more capacity for flood storage in the form of providing pure volume within the chamber, and then more void capacity in the stone around it. And once it's inundated, I mean, it's just full of water, as everything else in the area is going to be. And then over time, it'll start precipitating into the ground, or receding back to where, most likely the brook in the back.
Okay, so I mean, we have to write a decision that, DEP is going to read and decide not to intervene and appeal on. So I want to be confident that you feel like if that system gets totally flooded and inundated by a storm, it won't be damaged or compromised in any way.
No, it's meant to be, just take on all of the roof recharge. It has an overflow. Once it fills up to a certain point, it starts overflowing here.
John, do you think we need to request a narrative from these folks to answer any points made by DEP so they can clearly read that here is the narrative and they can refer to the supporting detail even if it's already submitted?
I mean, I think we need whatever documentation we can possibly have because DEP's obviously scrutinized this and they're going to be reading our decision and, deciding whether or not to intervene. So I feel confident that they sort of misunderstood the flood vent issue because the filing was a little confusing and the fact that the flood vents were just on the existing dwelling and not on the addition. So I feel confident that we can write a decision that will explain that and they'll understand it. But You know, I just need to have something in writing from the design engineer saying that this system will withstand inundation. So if the whole thing is under what, like there's 2 feet of water sitting above it, it won't damage it or structurally damage it. That's all, you know?
Right, you can't, John, I don't think it's our role to write that. We need them to write it, correct?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we
Okay.
could provide letters, some sort of documentation from the manufacturer with regards to the loading capacity as far as weight over the system.
Yeah.
If that's a concern. I'm not worried about it floating up or anything like that. With material above it. So I can definitely get some sort of documentation from the manufacturer for that effect.
Okay. And one of the other thing the DEP asked for is something the commission's already discussed requiring is the additional vegetation in the riverfront beyond the fence. So that was in their letter and we've already agreed, we're gonna require that.
Yep, that's shown on the plan.
Yeah. Okay. I mean, I think that's basically it.
All right, is there anything further we need from these folks other than a little bit of narrative for how the system behaves under a complete inundation?
Right. Yeah, that's it. So I don't know if you can use Schedule 40, what, you know, what is the system exactly?
So it consists of a an ADS storm scepter, 310 chamber, and it essentially, I can just zoom in here. You've got your downspouts which come down. There'll be this Y connection, serves as an emergency overflow. Also the option to clean it out. And then you just connect Schedule 40 pipe and then fittings right into this chamber.
Yeah.
During regular storm events, the roof drains will just direct the water into these chambers here. Once they start getting full, they'll just overflow, but they're designed to reduce the total site runoff for this particular property. And each one will have an inspection port at the top brought to grade.
Yep.
So that you can inspect the chamber, make sure that it's not silted up, just be able to perform typical observations and maintenance.
Okay.
Okay, all right. Okay, so let's go to the commission and see if there's anything further. Dawn, anything further on this?
No, nothing further.
Gail,
No, as long as we have that documentation.
Indra,
No, nothing.
Bill?
So are we saying that we need to not close tonight until we get the documentation, or we're gonna close and the documentation is strictly for the DEP?
No, we need the documentation to write into a decision. We have to incorporate it into a decision that we feel is defensible to DEP.
All right.
Okay. Anything else, Bill?
No, that's it.
Kent, anything?
Nothing to add.
Okay. All right, I'm all set as well. So is there anyone in the audience for this, the project at 7 Freeport Drive? Any questions from anyone else?
So can I just say, so if you get us that information fairly quickly, we'll get a draft. We can send you a draft decision and we'll have it ready to roll at the next meeting.
Okay.
Okay, so if there's nothing further from anyone, we will see you on January 13th, sir.
Thank you.
Very good. Thank you for your time.
Happy holidays to all of you.
Yes, same to you as well. Okay.
Roll call.
All right, could I have a motion to continue the hearing at 7 Freeport Drive till January 13th? Okay, second?
Second, Indra.
Okay, Dawn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
Chair votes yes by a vote of 500. The project And the hearing at 7 Freeport Drive is continued until January 13th, 2022. Okay, so we're gonna skip now down to, we have discussion, proposed revisions to erosion and sedimentation control bylaw. An update by the joint subcommittee with the Board of Health regarding proposed revisions to the stormwater bylaw. Eileen, would you like to sort of introduce the discussion, since you've been taking the lead on what we're trying to do?
Oh, you took me by surprise, Larry. Sure. So I can't remember what we had told you guys before, but we have now sent out a bylaw with some proposed changes in it. We would like to drop the thresholds so that we're capturing more projects. We've been seeing sort of generally just scope creep and much larger houses. So, you know, we want to make sure we're just capturing the additional increase in impervious. And we want to require that we actually have engineers design more of the features, so that if there's an issue, we can tell a developer to go back to their engineer rather than us and the Board of Health having to deal with complaints. We are proposing to also specify what sort of storm type, I don't think I'm saying that right, that they're going to design to, like NOAA 14 at least, if not higher. When we met with the Board of Health the other day, we also came up with a few other possibilities, like requiring that for smaller projects, we would still require a standard bond so that we have something to sort of hold them with. I don't know, Larry, if you were going to share your, you know, your sort of any of your documents, but what we were proposing is to drop the thresholds for a full hearing to any increase of more than 900 square feet of impervious on a lot, a tear down and rebuild of a single of any sort of a house, or an increase in activity of more than 15,000 square feet. So rather than 20,000 square feet, any of those thresholds would trigger a full hearing, and then for increases in impervious of between 500 and 900, that could still be dealt with under an abbreviated permit, which is what John and I usually issue, or for thresholds on. I can't remember now what the increase in what the change. Oh my goodness, where are my words gone? the project size for projects of a smaller size, we will still deal with those under the abbreviated permit, but there are still some things to be ironed out with that. So I did send you all the bylaw with some additional proposed changes in it. We've had edits from Larry, Bill, and Gail so far. So if anybody else has any, and this is going to be an iterative process. So if anybody else has any other suggestions, we're open to them.
Okay. Maybe I'll add a few comments to what you already said.
Sure.
The objective of what we're doing here by making proposed changes to an existing bylaw is to capture more projects. Okay, we want to capture more projects, and we have 3 levels of projects relative to typical homeowner lots. We have the large project, if you will, that is almost a whole lot or more, 20,000 square feet or greater. And the way the bylaw reads, it requires a full permit. So that means that what do we get under that? We get projects that have licensed engineer doing the drainage structures. We have using best engineering practices, and we have bonds, require performance bonds. We have a requirement to achieve a certificate of compliance. We have things that are required, the specifics that are required in a permit okay? So that if there's a problem, you have someone to go back to. But so many of these projects now, what are they doing in town? We have projects that are actually being built out to the zoning allowed lot line of 15 feet. And we are seeing more neighbor to neighbor disputes because there's construction right near the actual lot lines. And this has changed over the last 5 years. And so what we're having is these disputes that both the Board of Health and Conservation have to deal with. So it just seems like, and of course, anybody who's proposing a project, they would love to avoid the hearing process and the review that we go through, if possible. And so, I mean, so what do? They propose a project that's just under 20,000, 19,000, 19,500, and then they're not required to get a full permit. So that is kind of a problem. So what we're seeing is more and more. And then we have the medium-sized projects. The medium-sized projects currently are in the range of 10,000 to 20,000 square feet of land disturbance. And these projects get what I think we're calling an abbreviated permit. It's a few specific conditions and a standard set of conditions along with it. But there's no requirement to post a performance bond. There's no requirement for usually the drainage structures to be engineered by a licensed engineer. And so the recourse, if there's a problem with a project that's in the 10,000 to 20,000 foot range, we don't have the tools in place or the licensed engineer to go back to and say, we think there's a problem here, could you please review it? And then we have the projects that are 10,000 square feet. Often this might be a small addition and maybe some widening of a driveway, and they don't require any permit, and we only get involved when there is a problem. But then, is it correct to say, Eileen, that some of these projects in both the small category under 10,000 and the 10 to 20,000, okay, are having scope expansion because when the basic building is complete, then next thing you know, they're grading the backyard and, and there's a whole bunch of land disturbance that throws them over even the current thresholds we have. Is that accurate to say?
Sometimes I don't see it very often, but those are tricky because then, you haven't captured them the way you would have captured them had you known in the first place. Yeah. So they can be problematic.
So what the thinking is behind all this is that we will lower the threshold. For a full permit, 20,000 down to 15,000 is what we're thinking. I'm not even sure that's the right number. I think we need to all think about that and think whether should we be capturing even more projects over something less than 15,000, over 13,000. I don't know what the right number is. And then we're lowering, right now, we're looking at lowering for the abbreviated permit from the upper limit from 20,000 down to 15,000. So it would be 5 to 15,000 would be for the abbreviated permit. The questions that the commission has to consider when we do this is a few. The few is we don't want to create an unreasonable burden for the homeowner. I think that's number one. At the same time, we want to protect the homeowner if something is going wrong with a neighboring property or there's runoff creating a problem where it shouldn't. We would like our homeowners to have a recourse to go back to somebody who has properly designed it and has a license to design the infiltration features. So those are the two things that we have to consider. There are two additional things where, I don't know if you mentioned this, I might have missed it, Eileen, that we're thinking of creating another threshold in addition to just total land disturbance as to the amount of additional impervious surface being added to the project. So in other words, we don't have to wait until someone is scraping up their backyard and raising, 2 feet of soil onto an existing pervious area. But we are thinking that there should be an additional criteria threshold of increase in impervious area. And I guess we're looking at a full permit would be 900 square feet of additional impervious surface being added. And then the 500 to 900 square foot range would be what triggers an abbreviated permit. And I don't know if those are the right numbers either. So, and there's one last issue. In addition to what the right numbers are. And that is, if we have an abbreviated permit, the discussion at the Board of Health was that in the range of the mid-sized project right now, or things under 20,000, and if we revise it, will be under 15,000 of land disturbed between 5 and 15, they would get a standard drainage permit. What regulatory bylaw authorized controls do we want to put on those type of projects? What's the potential? I'm not answering, I'm just going to pose the question. What is the potential for issues with those types of projects? The Board of Health would tell you that they're seeing a lot of the mid-sized projects that are causing a lot of problems that they're getting complaints about. They said that yesterday. So the thing is, should we have just a standard bond? Should we require in some circumstance a licensed professional engineer to design the drainage structures? What should that criteria be, that if we're going to leave it to discretion, what is the threshold where we say you need a licensed engineer to design this feature? So we know it's done right. So I'll stop talking for the moment and open it up to anyone who would like to speak on this subject.
Well, this is Bill. I think one of the backgrounds of why we were trying to add impervious area is trying to capture a typical, often seen change to somebody's property where they add a 2-car garage and increase the driveway. And there's significant runoff that can occur from something like that and, can affect the neighbor's property. And that may not be anywhere near 10,000 square feet of disturbed area. So by putting limits on just impervious added area, that we would capture some of those where the drainage is directly affected without a lot of square footage being disturbed. So that was one of the things that we were thinking about. The idea of putting a bond on these the smaller projects, the abbreviated ones, it gives us something to hold over the not over the heads, I guess, of the applicants, to make sure the work gets done and to make sure that it is has some kind of inspection when it is done. It has to get a certificate of compliance in order to release the bond. And then we even proposed that perhaps we would hold that bond for a year routinely. So we have a whole season or 4 seasons of rain and snow and make sure there are no issues or complaints before we release the bond. So those were some of the discussions that we had.
Well, the historical context, Bill, is that we have in the past, not so much now, but in the past we have said well, even now, I think, anyone can correct me if this is wrong, when we've had an addition being added onto a house, it's not a whole new house. We didn't require sized drainage structures or things like that. We basically said you have 3 choices. You can let it run off into a drip edge, or a trench. You can put it into a dry well, or if it's flat area, run the stormwater off the roof spread it out over the grass. So are we thinking that we need to propose a change to that, or is there a criteria that we should use? I don't know.
Obviously, we've had some issues where, I can't remember the address, but there was at one site where the property drained down to the street and the guy put in his own design system and it failed. And now after the fact, he had to go back and try to get some kind of engineered resolution. We try to avoid that happening by having an engineering design up front.
Right.
We don't want to say every abbreviated application has to have an engineer look at it, because that puts a burden on all of the applicants. But what the criteria would be, I don't know. That I think it would be related to the amount of impervious area that's being added. We'd have to have an engineer look
I
at
mean,
it.
that's something we're gonna have to figure out. I mean, we're not gonna figure it out tonight. I mean, we just wanted to give an update, basically.
Right. That's an issue we still need to resolve.
Right,
Right, is where we would draw the line there.
right.
All right, so does anyone else like to say anything? We have had some neighbor disputes that have sort of, unfortunately, held the historical context for how involved it got with lawyers and going back and forth and so forth. We've had a few of them most recently, and it's not very pleasant when you don't have tools in place that there are some controls from some kind of a permitting process that you can go back to and see if they complied with the permit. So Indra, any comments?
Thinking. I'm thinking. Like if any homeowners wants to do any improvement, which Bill was saying that, somebody did some design and that there was a problem. Maybe we can come up with some limiting impervious area. Above that, somebody has to hire an engineer. I don't know that limit.
I wonder if that makes sense. I don't know if it makes sense, but that's an idea.
So, and do we have, or can we get any sort of statistical numbers, like the problematic projects, or, since we are trying to capture more projects, what are the projects which is not going through us, since we are trying to capture more? Can we get?
Indra, that's a fair question. There have not been many problematic projects. There have been two things that happened this year that have ended up with neighbor disputes, one of which we really weren't involved with, and the other one we were. For the most part, every developer I work with, if they get an erosion control permit, they're quite compliant. Part of my issue is that I'm finding developers are doing their best to kind of just squeeze under it, and I also just want to capture. We want to capture just more of the things that Bill was saying, like a big garage with a driveway. That's a lot of impervious, but we're not catching those sort of smaller things. So it's not necessarily that there being a whole lot of problems. Historically, we haven't. I just want us to get better, and I'd like us to capture more.
And not only are we not capturing them, but the neighbors don't have a chance to comment until the shovel hits the ground. It's already underway when the neighbors say, what's going on? By making it a formal hearing, then abutters are notified, and you have more of this exchange up front, and these abutters can be
Very good point.
convinced
Very
that the
good point,
thing is
Bill. Yeah.
designed well. So that's one of the areas also.
Right. You're right.
You're still going to have the people who start a project without pulling a building permit, and we never know what happens until a neighbor calls up and complains. You're always going to have that.
And there are projects that don't require building permits, like the one on Fox Hill and Beaverbrook, was it?
Oh, Barnum.
No, the one.
No, it's
the one-
Fox Hill.
The one,
you're right.
the one on Fox Hill, that was just fill. There was no construction. They just brought in dirt.
Yep.
That doesn't trigger any permits at all.
Right.
And
right.
it didn't actually really have anything very much to do with us, to be honest. We just sort of got dragged in a little bit.
Right, because I thought there may be wetlands there.
Right.
Right.
Was it, how many square feet of area was disturbed or added soil to? Do you know how many square feet that one was?
No,
Was that the one with the sports court that was put in?
no, this is just, they put in fill. It was probably under 10,000 square feet.
Okay, so if we lowered this to 5 to 15,000, we would have captured it with an abbreviated permit.
Maybe if they could, when it's something that doesn't require a building permit, it's very hard to capture them. We're kind of relying on people to just, you know, call us up and check on things. So that'll be just an educational process too.
Right.
Of course, and in that case, if there is a problem and there is, you'd spot there's work just going on because they just started it. If you think it does trigger a permit, you can have them stop work and apply for a permit. Theoretically.
Yes, I mean that one, the one that's at Barnum, that was also at issue. I did have them retroactively apply for a permit, and you know apply some erosion controls and stormwater management.
The problem is there's some question on that particular project on whether the swale is operating properly as it should, according to best practice, because the water is clearly pooling in the area of the neighbor's property in the corner there.
The water is getting there in very strong, large storm events, and then it's draining away. They've always gotten water from that property.
Okay, I don't think we should get into specifics on
Okay.
sites. This was just an update on the stormwater bylaw.
Right.
All right, so, so Eileen, going forward, what's the plan for engaging the commission? Are you gonna be sending out?
So we had as Larry and Bill both described, we had a discussion with the Board of Health a couple of days ago, and we did come up with a couple of other things which I haven't yet put into the bylaw, but I will next week. These are things about, I'll see if we need to put in something specific about the bond. I'm not sure we need words in there. And one or two other things that we talked about. So I'll make sure all of those changes are in, and I'll send it around to everybody again. I haven't yet received any feedback from the planning board. Planning staff so far seem to think that they're the ones I've heard from, they're good with it. But the planning board definitely did want to weigh in. So we just need to incorporate everybody's comments, and I'll swing back to you guys.
All right, so you'll send out a red line version?
Yep.
Okay.
We need to keep it as red line because every single change that we make has to be apparent when we go to town meeting.
Yes, yes. All right, are we done with this? Kent, you have anything on this? And who else didn't I call on? Dawn, anything on this one?
No, not at this time.
Okay. And Kent, you still online?
Yep. When are you looking to get this approved? You said town meeting. When are you looking to get it approved by town meeting, the next one?
No, it would be the Maytown meeting, but they changed the dates. We would have to have it in by, I think it's February.
Right.
So it may be even too tight for that by the time everybody weighs in.
Yep.
We'll see.
What do you mean they
Okay.
changed the dates?
Oh, it used to be that, John, I'm getting tired. Can you just explain what I mean? For the zoning bylaw changes, it had to be in 3 months before, and for the general bylaw changes, it was what, 45 days or something?
Something like that, yeah.
And now they've made everything 90 days. So we have to get proposed changes in 90 days before the actual town meeting.
Okay. I'm just curious because we got, other things that we're trying to get the town meeting, the CPA and stuff like that. I want to make sure I know what the dates are.
So
Yeah, you
Bill,
should
how
check
many,
with Amy then.
how many days
The
is it
January one is obviously gone, but February for the
for a
May
new
one.
bylaw? How many days do you have to?
90 days, I
90
think.
days, okay.
You should verify that with the
Yeah,
town clerk.
check with Amy. Don't go by
yeah.
me.
Yeah.
It's yeah.
All right, shall we move on?
Yeah.
Okay, planning board comments.
So we'll be providing comments on the water treatment plant to the planning board for their meeting.
Okay. All right, and subcommittee and staff reports? Anything?
Remind everybody, next conservation walk is Tuesday, 10 o'clock, Town Line Road.
All right, sounds good. Next meeting is January 13th. Obviously, if you can't make the meeting, let us know. The next meeting after that is January 27th. Other business.
So I got sort of a last minute request for a partial certificate of compliance for Mill Pond Estates, which is the new little 3-lot subdivision off of Chandler Road. They're trying to sell one of the house lots, and they didn't really realize that this buyer needed to get a certificate of compliance to close, and so the buyer's insisting on it. And we don't have another meeting for 5 weeks, which would definitely screw up their closing. And selfishly, I'm sort of in favor of you voting it, because he's been waiting, the developer's been waiting to actually go through the land donation process to give us that parcel until he sold a parcel, just to pay the lawyers to do the work and everything. So once he sells that first parcel, we'll get the big chunk of land next to it. It'll be ours. So I'd ask you to issue a partial certificate for I don't have the lot number, but it's
It's for number 2, Mill Pond Lane.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anything needed, John, that we would issue the certificate subject to them receipt of something from them?
We would just need either for them to send something to say that the stormwater system was installed as designed, or for them to remind me when they actually sent that. But otherwise, I have inspected it for a certificate of occupancy, and it's good to go. They're sodded and everything. They've got grass. They're fine.
Oh, wow.
All right.
The house is already built. Wow.
Yes.
So do we need a motion to have them verify that the drainage system was designed as proposed, was installed as proposed?
Sure.
Okay, could I have a motion to have a partial certificate of compliance for number 1, what's the address?
Number 2, Mill Pond Lane.
Number 2, Mill Pond Lane, a partial certificate of compliance for number 2, Mill Pond Lane. To the certificate to be released, subject to receiving verification that the drainage area was installed as designed.
So moved, Gail.
Second, Bill.
Okay, Don, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail?
Yes.
Indra?
Yes.
Bill?
Yes.
All right, and chair votes yes by a vote of 5-0. The partial certificate of compliance for 2 Mill Pond Lane is approved. All right, anything other business?
Would you mind if we just voted for the 2022 meeting schedule? It would make things easier for Dawn, among other people, just to have things written in stone.
20.
So the meeting schedule would be the 2nd and 4th Thursdays of every month, except for July, August, November, and December. So that's basically your normal schedule. You have 1 meeting in July, 1 in August, 1 in November, 1 in December. All the other months will be the 2nd and 4th Thursdays. On those months when you're having 1 meeting, it's always the 2nd Thursday.
Okay.
Unless a holiday falls on it.
And it doesn't.
There won't be one next year.
There won't.
We checked.
Okay, so and I assume we're going to be going in April back to meeting in person?
That's yet to be determined by the governor.
All right. Okay, so, all right, is there anything further? If nothing, I'll take a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Hey, Larry, just one point. On the town website, not that it lists anything out, but it still lists a meeting placeholder for the 23rd of December. There's nothing out there, but just it's maybe confusing for people.
For Conservation Commission?
Yep.
Okay, I'll let Amy know that's should be taken off. Unless you want to meet then.
I think everybody's good.
Yeah.
Do we need to vote on that calendar?
No, that's
No.
just a mistake on their part.
No, I mean on the meet
Oh,
schedule.
yeah.
Yeah.
He meant
Yeah,
on
yeah.
the schedule next year.
Right. Yeah, I guess you need a roll call vote on that too then.
All right.
All right, could I have a motion to adopt the meeting schedule for next year as being the second and fourth Thursday of every month, except for July, August, November, and December, where there will be only one meeting during those months, and it will occur during the second Thursday of that month.
So moved. Bill.
Second.
Second, Indra.
Dawn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Indra,
Yes.
Bill,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. The meeting's scheduled for 2022 is approved. All right, could I have a motion to adjourn the meeting if anyone's interested?
So moved, Indra.
Second,
Second.
Gail.
All right, Dawn, how do you vote?
Yes.
Gail,
Yes.
Indra,
Definitely yes.
Bill,
Yes.
and the chair votes yes. By a vote of 5-0-0, this meeting of the Burlington Conservation Commission is adjourned. Thank you all very much. I hope you have all nice holidays and
Happy holidays,
see
everyone.
you
Yes.
formally.
Happy
We'll see you
holidays to
formally.
everybody.
Yep,
Happy
see
New
you
Year.
formally next year.